So, as many of us expected at this point, EliGE has officially rejoined Team Liquid. This comes at a time in which he was on a FaZe clan team that was struggling a lot, much like Liquid was, and both Liquid and FaZe decided that it was the right choice to trade EliGE for Twistzz. And so now Twistzz finds himself on the FaZe clan roster, and EliGE finds himself now in this new Team Liquid team. Interestingly enough, these two players used to play together. They played together for over a year and won many trophies, but now they can't seem to do anything except avoid each other, and even though they could have played on the same team. So, with EliGE returning to Liquid, this is not the same Team Liquid core that he played with. In fact, it almost has nothing to do with that. Now it's a completely European team, basically, with an international IGL and a different set of teammates. So the reason Liquid was struggling is because NertZ has not been what he was. NertZ was signed by Liquid to be one of the star players of the team and try to up the level, replacing a Yakindar that was really having a woeful time there. And NertZ simply just did not do what he was supposed to do. He wasn't given the freedom, but also he wasn't performing in the roles he was given. Overall, it just seemed like kind of a cursed team that no matter what players were there, because since they made such good signings like Shuhei and NertZ, but they still couldn't get anything going, and virtually achieved nothing with Twistzz the second time around since he joined the Cadian roster. So with EliGE joining Team Liquid, he's now a different player than he was also back in his heyday on Liquid. He's remolded himself into a kind of space taker type of player, where he'll frequently be on his own on the T side and look for opening kills that hopefully his teammates will trade. And honestly, from the time on FaZe, he was doing a pretty good job on this. If we look just at the statistics, his entry rating was very good, as well as his opening attempt rate, and was the best T-side player statistically on FaZe. He was also progressively getting better and taking a bigger role on the team, but then he was unexpectedly kicked after the team went 6 or 7 months without winning a single trophy, and this move received a lot of backlash from the community. It is also true that EliGE never seemed to gel very well with the FaZe players in-game. There didn't seem to be a good understanding on how to deal with different situations as they would arise in the game, and that's really represented by the CT side stats, where you could just see they weren't all on the same page. EliGE just was one of the worst players on the team on the CT side if you consider the positions he was put in, and they just never found a good balance as a team on the CT side, even though it did get progressively better since the team initially got EliGE in early 2025. On the Liquid side, you have the issue of NertZ, obviously, who was one of the best players in the world probably a year ago or so, especially one of the most promising talents when he was playing on Heroic. And it just hasn't worked out on Liquid so far. He had to change his T-side role. In fact, before he was basically a hard lurker. He would, like to play by himself and involve himself later in the round when he found an opening. And on Liquid, he was forced to take kind of a role to be more in the pack because Twistzz and Naf were already lurky types of players who wanted to make plays specifically Twistzz. So NertZ didn't really... he wasn't able to play the role that he wanted, as far as I can tell. And with EliGE coming in, this might free up NertZ to be more of a lurk piece for the team, because instead of Twistzz and Naf, it would be NertZ and Naf both taking on more lurky positions, while EliGE has traditionally always been like a pack player. And so this might free up NertZ on the T side to make his own plays, while EliGE is kind of like a space taker, but with the pack. For instance, he likes to play an Ancient, he likes to play middle, he likes to be the first guy going out middle, and he's very good at getting 1 and sometimes 2 kills initially just by himself. He's very good at playing around smokes and things like that, and understanding the openings of rounds, while NertZ is stronger in like the mid and late round. So this can be a very good combination between the both of them. The only concern that I have about this is that on the CT side, they kind of want to do similar things, and the success of this team, so that it doesn't end up like FaZe did, where they weren't on the same page on the CT side, they have to do a bit of give and take because NertZ, for instance, likes to play connector in Mirage and kind of move around that middle section of the map and be a really strong rotator, and that seems like exactly what EliGE wants to do. So I do think there has to be some give and take there, and there's no telling how they'll mesh. So on the T side, they really complement each other well, and on the CT side, they're going to have to find some solution and that's really going to determine how far they're able to go as a team. The main thing about this is that they all have to be on the same page, because when EliGE left Liquid initially and went to Complexity, he, I think, built up a lot of frustration with that team because it was always on the cusp of actually defeating a really good team, but almost never did it and never got to championship aspirations. And a lot of the community blamed EliGE's teammates for that. Holzer, JT not being good enough, Grim not being a good enough second star. So when EliGE left for FaZe, it was going to be so he could win championships. He even said that explicitly in an interview. And since it didn't work out in FaZe, he must still be looking for to become a championship caliber player on a championship caliber team. And this Team Liquid squad has to have that ambition as well. They brought in so many imported talents from Europe with Juhei. Ultimate was a bit of a rookie pickup, but now they've gotten Flashy as well as the coach, along with NertZ as well. So this team really has to have championship aspirations, and something I could maybe foresee being an issue is the issue of Ultimate, which was a player that Twistzz himself scouted, I believe he said, and decided to bring onto Liquid himself. And now Twistzz has left Liquid, so now EliGE is playing with Ultimate, and I could foresee that being an issue, perhaps similar to when EliGE and Holzer were playing together, where Holzer could have his days, but he was just very inconsistent, and so it looked like EliGE was just kind of left out to dry when Holzer just didn't perform. And even though EliGE always performed, it wouldn't be enough for Complexity to win, so that could be an issue as well. But obviously, I'm not a prophet, so I can't tell exactly how these players are going to mesh. But it is a very promising move for Team Liquid because Team Liquid obviously needed a change. Even though they lost Twistzz, losing and changing a player, no matter who it was, and especially given that they're getting a rising EliGE who was improving already on FaZe, is going to be a really good move for them on paper. So it's really about how they're able to mesh with each other. And perhaps on this team, EliGE can also find himself again having a more leading role on the team, because on FaZe, I felt he was probably given the second chair to Kerrigan, as he should, given it's the IGL. He may be the second, he might just be like the right-hand man of Juhei when it comes to calling now. But I feel like Team Liquid is an org that really knows how to choose the players that they like and allow that player to kind of direct the team to some extent, as we saw with Twistzz and before EliGE, and a bit with Yekindar as well. So maybe EliGE will be able to play and be more comfortable on this team. As well with like maybe a stronger leadership duo of Flashy and Shuhei rather than Neo and Kerrigan, which is mainly just Kerrigan doing most of that. So this seems like a much more well-rounded team to be joining than that FaZe team, because that FaZe team has obviously really good players like Frozen, but also players that are not as strong like Kerrigan and Rain, who are really need to be kind of carried sometimes, to put it bluntly, because they simply just don't provide the same level of output as players like, for instance, NertZ or NAF might. And if I have to make my own prediction, I would say wholeheartedly that this FaZe team will probably be better than the FaZe team, even with Twistzz joining. I feel quite confident in saying that this Team Liquid team has a much stronger foundation that they built up with these strong signings of NertZ and Flashy and Shuhei. So I really believe that that's going to yield results for them eventually. I don't know if it'll be right now. I think it will be right now, but it may not be. Maybe it'll take more time for the players to understand each other and mesh and build up an identity and a style, which is something that Liquid has been lacking. And speaking of loss of style, FaZe just is trying to bring back a style that's just completely dead. You can check out my article if you want, that I wrote about it, talking about how they're trying to bring back the magic, as you know, the NIPs of the world did in 2013 up to 2016, where they were just changing out one player, hoping that they were going to remake the Krusty Krab secret formula or something. And of course, it never happened that way. They had occasional lit magic, but it was only when they had like a one-off tournament. And FaZe is a team that's supposed to win many tournaments, not just a single one. So I'm quite confident in saying that even by adding Twistzz, who is a very good player, that FaZe definitely won't be better than this Team Liquid team. So all in all, this EliGE Shining should be a really good one for Team Liquid, but it's not the same Team Liquid, and it's also not the same EliGE. This is an EliGE that has, seemingly matured since his time in originally in Liquid when there was a lot of drama around him. Um, and this is an EliGE that's matured, had several, played in two other teams since then. On Complexity, he had kind of had to live being the only star of the team trying to carry, and on FaZe, he kind of had to integrate himself into a different team, different sort of team. So I think this is a good signing, but you can't expect him to be exactly like the old EliGE. That was more of like a trading player. This EliGE is much more directed towards openings and is extremely good at finding small gaps within other teams' openings and exploiting that. It's not necessarily like the Nico type player that EliGE was before. This is more of like a NertZ type player or more like a Yakindar type player, but he does that really well. And so obviously this Liquid team needs to really figure out what this give and take dynamic is going to be. How much space are we going to give to EliGE, and how much are we going to try to prioritize our other stars, and what identity are we going to create? Are we going to be more like a Navi that's really structured and has every player with a defined role and a specific protocol set to follow? Or is this going to be more like a FaZe type team where players kind of do their individual plays and then find a way to kind of put it together with mid rounds, in the middle and late rounds? So overall, I think it's a really exciting signing and really excited to see what they do for the future. Thanks.